Okay, Eben, how are you?
I am good. How are you doing
Are you,
too?
are you nervous?
No, do I look like? Maybe a
Ah,
bit.
okay, so you're comfortable. Thank you so much for joining us. How is Ghana today?
Well,
How is
it's been a good day today. It was a
okay?
rainy day. It was about quite a bad day yesterday with the rains and then a little bit of places flooding and here and there. But then it's been a good day. We've not had any rains for today, so I think it's been a
Oh,
good one. Better than yesterday.
okay. But the rains are good sometimes. The farmer is praying for it.
Oh yeah, sometimes.
Yes. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us. Yeah.
Thank you too. Yeah.
So African Writers Corner, we're not going to, don't worry, we won't kill you. It's just a 20-minute quick fire session where I ask you
Okay.
a few questions as a writer, things that has helped you and all of that. And then every other person gets to ask you their own question in about 5 minutes and it's a wrap. So it's really short and it's really brief. Okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So what's your favorite part as a writer? What's your favorite part of being a writer?
Well, I think there are so many favorite parts, but then my favorite part is me bringing up things that are in existence
Why?
or non-existent stuff.
Wow.
Basically, when it comes to fiction, I mean, with the current series I'm writing now, I'm writing
Mm-hmm.
on a crime and then an intelligence kind of concept. It is something that has not happened, but then opening your mind to write things that are not real, but things that have not happened before, and then creating them, it gets me more looking like God. Yes, follow God to say, more like you creating things that are
Aha.
not existing. Yeah,
So there's that
basically,
omniscient view, that omniscient part, that part. You're
basically,
like, hey, I'm a
basically.
great.
Yeah.
Okay, this is good to know. Please tell me you talk to real life humans, though.
Come again?
Tell me you talk to real life humans, though. You don't spend
Oh
all your
yeah,
time. Says,
I do. I do.
aha, how many hours a day?
Um, like three.
Oh wow. Okay. So does that mean you write every day?
Not every day per se, especially when it comes to short stories. I mostly write short stories on Fridays. I post them on
Mm,
Fridays basically. So I make sure I write them on Fridays. But then when it comes to poetry, even though I post poetry or poems on Wednesdays, a poem can just erupt in my mind anytime. So anytime it
mm.
triggers, I could just write. Anytime, whether I'm in the public transport, whether I'm in my room, anywhere I am, I could just come up with a write up. Yeah.
Ah, that's nice to know. Let's talk about your puns. What inspired those things are mind blowing. How do you even come up with them? There was this one about two logs, dialogue and monologue, and I'm like, oh God,
uh,
how does he even think of these things?
with the puns, with spoken word poetry, when it comes to spoken word poetry,
Okay,
when with regards to word play, we normally address
okay,
it as punchlines. And then, but then when they are in poems or spoken words, you don't see the effect much so they are taken out as just single words or single phrases, and then you make them as puns, and then they just come up with you having your mind thinking in two different ways, basically you placing a different definition or different meaning to words and different meaning to sentences. That is the whole beauty of coming up with puns, basically. Yeah. So what the normal person would think as this is how it means or this is what it means, you give it a different definition or a second point of view, and then I mean it blows up people's minds with that.
oh nice. You really do blow up our minds, though.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you ask me, I would almost say, okay, up until I went to your blog, I would
Hmm.
have said your poems were the most popular things about Eben. In fact, I think it's your signature piece, if you ask me. It's that one thing I would every Wednesday. Yeah, I honestly have people who wait to read your poems who are not even on WSA.
Wow.
Like I just take the poem, hey, there's a new one and he has this and that. But then I went to your blog and I was blown. 2013, you had a blog already.
Yeah.
2013, what inspired you? That's so long ago. What
Well,
inspired
I started writing, or I started poetry way back in 2010, 2011. But then
you?
with
Wow.
as going forward to 2013, I came into contact with writers and then poets who actually inspired me, who were blogging already, who were into, I mean, big time doing the art on a bigger platform. And then I think that is where I took the inspiration from to also follow suit and then come up with a blog as far back as 2013. And these pioneers are what they are, who or they are what they did is what inspired me to come up with a blog as at that time. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. So can you mention some of these people who inspired you? Mention like 3, 5 of them
Well,
and what they
okay, as far back as that time, I think I don't know if you know one of Ghana's favorite spoken word artists, Rhyme Sonny or Kweku Sonny. It goes by the name, the stage name Rhyme Sonny. And then there were
okay.
Natakia, and then Nana Sasi. These are Ghanaian poets or Ghanaian writers who actually
Wait,
inspired me as a
check them
as
out.
a yeah, sure.
Oh, awesome. So these people inspired you to begin your blog, all right? And then
Yeah,
I also did notice that the blog posting wasn't consistent over the years. So there were
yeah,
years where you had lesser writing, years where you had a lot of writing, and then in recent
yeah,
time you grew into your Facebook
yeah.
page, and then that has been consistent thing on its own.
Yeah.
What were your challenges owning and running a blog?
I think back then it didn't have much patronage compared to now.
Staying consistent.
Yeah, it didn't have much patronage. So posting there, you wouldn't have people or much readers responding to your write-ups compared to Facebook. Facebook has an open community platform where even people who are not your friends can actually get to like your post and then comment and share as well, basically. So starting from 2013, it wasn't much consistent, but then somewhere 2014, 2015, I changed lines or I changed platforms to Facebook. So from 2015, most of my works have been on Facebook. Most of them have been on Facebook. And then from 2016, I've been a bit, let me say, lazy with my blog for a while. I post once a while, but then almost all my pieces have been on Facebook because that is where I think people actually get to read your stuff more. There is a bigger readership, there is a bigger community for you to actually have people appreciate your works more with than blogging actually. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. So there was a time when there was this very huge argument as to whether Facebook was the new blog. Facebook was taking over. So as a person who is digital media savvy, who has used digital media to reach more people that are outside of their network, how do you think writers can leverage on social media?
Well, with social media, I think for now, I think Facebook is actually doing well. The growth of Facebook is actually giving writers that bigger platform to actually meet each other. I've met
Okay,
I'll tell you, Facebook has been the biggest platform where I've met writers.
interesting.
Almost all the writers I've known, almost 80% of the writers I've known so far, I met them on
Mhm.
Facebook, basically.
Oh,
So it has really linked people, writers, to know each other. And then it has
okay.
actually given me it gives you the platform to learn from other writers as well, other poets as well. So it is not just about posting your pieces on social media, but then
Mhm.
it is also giving you the platform to learn from other writers, other poets. I mean, I'm talking to other writers on different platforms or different countries because of social media. So
Nice.
as a poet or as a writer, it shouldn't always be about what you are showcasing out there or your works you are showcasing out there, but also create that form of linking up with other writers, linking up with people in the same art curriculum you are in. And that is what actually sharpens you. It is not always about having a readership or giving people what they need, but then also learning from other people as well. Yeah.
Oh, that's really really nice to know, and that's something a lot of writers need to begin to learn. That it's not
Yeah.
just about sitting in your own space and doing your own thing.
Yeah.
There's the opportunity to network. But then, quick question: considering how great Facebook has been and social media blogging has been for you to reach out to other writers, how has your audience been able to give you feedback? Have you been able to receive feedback from your audience?
Yeah, I won't doubt that actually. The
Okay.
feedback from audience has actually also placed a task or has been a catalyst for my writing journey, because as I said earlier, Facebook gives you that open platform for people to comment and then share. So people who are not even your friends can get to what comments on your post and then come into your inbox to critique your post as well, and even under your comments under the
Ah,
post. And it's given me, especially with critiques, it has Facebook has given me one grinding where I'm actually able to take critiques in and then work on the work and the works I put out there. So somebody will be like, oh, I like this part of the piece. I appreciate the concept, but then if you could twist this part here, these things wouldn't fit in, these words don't actually go in line with the concept, or your flow or your wording, there are grammatical errors and all these things. Taking all these things in actually give you the strength to push on. Without the comments, without the critiques, without the people reading, without people giving you feedback, actually you wouldn't get to move on with your works to put out something worthy of their reading time. Yeah.
that's really nice to know. But then, considering how social media, this interview has suddenly moved on to us being digital media surveyors, right? That's thanks to you, because this wasn't the plan, but this is great.
Yeah.
Now, considering how quickly people on social media have the habit of talking about things, even though they might not understand the entire concept, yeah, sometimes they
Yeah.
can get overly critical. How have you been able to manage critics that are not constructive? Have you been able to?
Constructive.
Yes,
it's
I've
it's it's
always
one of the challenges as
do.
well, basically. you know as writers or as poets, you have a different perspective or angle of looking at things. You have a different meaning to things, and then how you would see it is not how the common person would see it. So
Okay.
if you write, let's say you see there's a picture of a leaf falling, and then I see it as growth. I see it as a leaf falling to what enrich the soil so something could grow.
Okay.
Another person wouldn't see it from that perspective.
Okay.
So if they don't understand your point of view, that is where it becomes a bit of a battlefield. But then most of the times I don't mostly I try to explain it from my perspective to them, beyond just literary perspective or poetic meanings in
Ah,
simple English, so that they can also get it. But then the ones who get it. Those who don't get it, actually.
oh, so
But
this is where you don't care.
yeah, I mean, at a point or sometimes you don't
Oh,
just
okay, but
move
I
on.
like something you said. You said simple English, simple words.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we also try to overflog it and make it very big and
So
dramatic and hysteric.
yeah.
Okay. So in this world of social media, in this world of being digital savvy, has there come a time where your intellectual property was stolen online? Is there a way you defend any way you've been able to defend your intellectual property so far?
Well, so far I haven't had any. I think so far I haven't had anybody copy my works and then not giving me credit,
Okay.
because I think when people copy,
Mm-hmm.
social media is a bit, it's like a small compound, but then a bigger compound as well. The moment someone, the moment someone copies your work and then posts it somewhere, you'd have
Uh-huh.
someone coming into your inbox like, "Hey, someone has copied your works here." So you quickly would reach out to the person to let them know that, hey, you didn't give me credit or anything. And mostly with my works, I put my name below it. So it's quite difficult, though I've had just one or two times where someone would copy my work and then clear my name and then post it on their wall. And it's a headache. Like, I mean, I think
Amen.
that is one of the challenges of posting your stuff on social media. It's a headache.
Mm-hmm.
It's really much of a headache. Like, people taking your works for granted and then putting it out there. But you can't stop them, and then you can't stop feeding the people who need your works too. That is it. I mean,
Mm. Okay. So when you look at the greater good and the people who truly need it, you can afford
yeah,
to. I think something else we had talked about at Writers Space Africa that a few writers did to check up maybe on our website are publications, writing, and then putting your work together and getting its ISBN and a few of those other
yeah,
proper details so that it is in your name. But again, when you publish something online, when you publish it, it is still published. Don't wait until
yeah,
it's a book. When you publish on social
yeah,
media
yeah,
and all those platforms, dear writer, it is your work and it is published in your name. So it is yours. You can fight for it even with that publication if you have a
yeah.
good lawyer. All right. So thank you so much, Eben. This has been really brief for me, but it has been very digital.
Of course.
Okay. Before I round off and let everyone else begin to send in their questions, if you have a question for Eben, please put it in the chat, and I'm going to start reading it out very soon. Okay. Before we get to that, are there platforms in Ghana? Okay, are there platforms in Ghana where young people can get writing opportunities, where they can learn? Do you have a platform where you teach or a group or something where you connect with other people
Yeah,
physically in
there
Ghana?
are, there are a whole lot of them. There are a whole lot
Okay,
of them. There is one I am part of now. Writers Grotto.
okay,
It's a platform where young writers come together.
okay,
It is done every month, where young writers come together, read out their works, and then they
okay,
receive constructive criticism from other writers, and then pioneers in
okay.
the writing field. There is Peja Festival, where the top
Nice.
note, or the top guys in the game actually teach the upcoming ones as well. And there is a halakasa, a whole lot of them where you could actually get to learn from other people as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. The reason someone's already asking questions, but I'm just going to round up and then we get into that once and for all. Okay. The reason I'm asking this is last week or so, the last interview we had, our guest mentioned this difference, this generational gap between people who are really good and then people who are coming up, and then there is that mentoring gap that's missing. And I wanted to be sure you had a platform where you were bridging that gap, where younger people around you had a platform to learn from you, and then where you had other platforms to learn from other people. And so that means a lot for us. So I had a question in mind. I had a question in mind before this interview started, wondering how can writers mitigate civil challenges in their environment? How can writers join the how can writers join the society, yeah, in expressing grievance, in documenting grievance without necessarily being on the streets during protests? So there's a major protest in Nigeria going on called
Yeah.
NSAS. If you were a
Exactly.
writer in Nigeria, what would you do right now?
I think
This is your question.
yeah, I think we as writers we are powerful, seriously, because whatever we write, whatever people read of us actually goes a longer way to inspire their minds or change their minds. So as writers, there's one thing one of my mentors told me. He said we shouldn't get to the point where you fear writing about things that people don't want to talk about. The moment
Mm-hmm.
you put your pen down, you put your voice down, not to talk about things that society need to hear or things that society need to change. That is where you help deepen the hurt or the problem in society. So basically, with our writing, we should be easy. We should be so open to write about anything possible we want to talk about, anything possible that is hindering society progress, anything possible. We should have that courage to put it out there, in our poems, in our stories, in our write out articles, anything. We should have that courage to put it out there. So if I was in Nigeria, I'd probably write a poem. I saw a picture today with a lady with a fist up, and
Okay.
and it really inspired a poem. I saved the picture. I think within
Please,
the week I'll
please.
write a poem on that. So out of the poems is how people get to change their minds, and how governments get to know what the citizens are thinking about and what they need to change as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So if you're joining us today, I hope you're learning from Eben, and the publications isn't just, oh, I write something and then it's in my book. You have to share it to people. You have to be able to connect with your audience, connect with fellow writers. Writing is not a one-way thing. You need to get feedback, critiquing, and a few other things. Okay, so I'm going to take in their questions, and I would ask you one final question. If
Okay.
you had all African writers in one room, what would you say to them?
All African writers.
Yes, all
Wow.
African in one room, and you are the guest speaker. The light is on you, spotlight. That for five
Well,
minutes. We don't have up to
I
5 minutes. 2 minutes. What would you say?
in 2 minutes. I'll
Hmm.
keep it simple. I'll keep it short. I'll just tell them to write their own stories and not wait for others to come and write it for them. Basically, because the more we keep silent on our stories, that is where we give other people the opportunity to come and to waste our stories in a different way they don't understand or they have not experienced. So we are here, we are Africans, we are what we are. We as writers and Africans, we need to write our own stories so that people can see how it is in the situations we are. We shouldn't wait for other people to come and write our stories and then misconstrue them and then change it in a different angle. So as a writer, write your own African stories. You are the one to tell your African story. Don't wait for another person to come and tell them for you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Now, interestingly, this resonates with what Jimmy said. I think the person before Jimmy also said the same thing, but he said something about us writing our own stories, owning our own stories. And there was this popular African proverb I was searching a few weeks back, and he said something about how until the lion finds a way to begin to write its own stories, the
Yeah.
stories of the hunt would always glorify the hunter.
True.
And I think that's something African writers are beginning to learn. They're beginning to step up to their own stories, step up to the bar and
Yeah.
say, oh no, this was not what happened from our own perspective. This
Yeah.
was a side of the accounts. Thank you so much for inspiring us to write our own side of the story. Thank you so much for inspiring us to stay with our own creativity, to find a platform that works. I think that is something I celebrate about you. The fact that you had a blog, you saw other people do it, and then you tried it and it wasn't working really well and you moved on. Okay.
Sure.
All right. So I'm going to be taking in a few questions. And some of these questions are hilarious, but they're funny. That's good to know. Uh, Someone asked if you have a plan to publish a porn book. That's Christina.
Yeah, I do. I am coming up with an anthology. I am coming up with an anthology, and then it would have a pan section, basically, in addition. So
Ah, that will be nice. And someone else said, is asking, how does Eben get inspiration to write porns?
for the pans, they sometimes come out of the blue. They just I hear a word, or someone says something, and then my mind gives
Mm-hmm.
it a different meaning to it. My mind gives it a whole different meaning. Sometimes I ask myself how they even come up. Like, it's just amazing.
Okay.
Come on. Like, yeah.
Oh, someone here has a porn for you. The person called you a porn star. Okay. Oh, thank you to the person that says my background is beautiful. One last question. How do you deal with censorship as a writer? Has there ever been a situation where you've been forced to stop writing about a particular topic? Where you've been forced to stop writing about a particular topic because of censorship?
Where I've been forced, or I come again.
Okay, Eben, your volume is really, really low.
Yeah, could you come again?
Okay, this person is asking about censorship. How do you manage censorship? Has there ever been a time where you're forced to stop writing because of censorship? Where you've been forced
No,
to stop writing about a particular topic?
no, I haven't experienced that basically. But then there was a time I was writing a series on rape, on people's personal experiences on rape. And then I got to the third episode, and then the experiences people were sharing with me, it really got to me. I stopped writing about it. Like I couldn't take, it's like I couldn't just imagine
Ah,
the that. I just stopped the series. I just stopped writing the series. Nobody asked me to, but I just stopped writing it. I couldn't take the mental weights of, I mean,
what
people
the
sharing
topic?
their rape or sexual abuse stories. Like,
Ah,
yeah,
those are usually emotionally draining.
yeah,
Those are
yeah,
really emotionally draining. When we write about topics like suicide, abuse, whatever it is, any form of abuse and trauma, because they are real life situations that we can see, they're not fictions of our own imagination.
yeah,
They're usually more emotionally draining, and so I can
yeah,
relate to you the series. But as much as you can, if you can go back and partner with someone or get strength in a certain way, it would be great to read your thoughts
sure,
on it. Yeah,
sure.
okay. Any more questions for Eben before we get into the second section? I think we have about 10 more minutes. Okay. Ah, okay, someone asked, every poem by Eben has a pictorial accompaniment. Are his poems solely pictorial inspired? Your poems solely.
I suspected this question. Yeah. Well,
Ah,
not all the time, not all the time, but then most of the times, I just like the pants. Okay,
okay.
I see things differently. Seriously, I see things different from a different perspective. So when someone will see a picture and just admire it, I will see words dripping out of that picture. I would
Oh,
see a
dripping
picture
now.
frame. Yeah. So it's, you see just a picture, I see words. So basically, most of the times I see pictures and then I just see words, and I'm inspired to put it in a poem. But then sometimes I write the poem
Mm-hmm.
and then I look out for a picture that speaks the same language as the poem. Yeah. But then most times, because I see pictures as words, I'm most times inspired by pictures or attach where pictures to my pieces all the time. Yeah.
Oh, that's really nice. Okay, so you're like the guy who you're the one who interprets the 1,000 words in one picture.
I think so.
Link or something to view. So when I'm rounding up, you can quickly type in if you can. If your phone is on the stand, you can attend to that later before we round up. Just drop in your links, your Facebook link, your social media link, wherever you post, and then we can quickly
Okay.
check that after the interview. Okay, so what has been the scariest part of being a writer for you?
Scariest moment.
Yes, scariest moments as a writer.
Scariest moment. Me not being able to finish what I started, basically. When it
Oh,
comes to
what
me
was that?
writing, when it comes to when it comes to writing a series, for example, I
Okay.
start when I start, and then maybe I write episode 1, episode 2,
Okay.
and then I have some other things taking my time and other things taking my mind, and I'm
Mm.
stuck at a point trying to share time for writing and then my personal life, and then it gets
Mm.
quite sticky whether I'll be able to finish the story I just started or the series I just started. But
Mm.
then at a point, I do well to take a break. I mean, take a breather, and then come back to it, and then let the mind have some space to actually reconnect itself, and then continue the write up.
Talking about taking a breather, do you do that every time you're just scared, or you do it at other times, like when you have writer's block? Do you ever have writer's block, and how do you deal with it?
Do I have writer's block? I it's I don't think I do, maybe, but I don't think I do, because
Ah,
anytime I find myself in a space whether I am blank,
okay.
I tend to translate that in a poem. I will-
Ah,
I take a breather. I take a breather when it's a story most times.
okay.
But then if I take a breather and then I'm not feeling well in mind, I translate that emotions. I translate that condition or that environment into a poem. It's either a one line, a 2 line poem, 5 lines. I just have to just put it down in a poem, basically.
Oh, that's nice. Do you have a favorite poem that you've published?
No, I don't.
Wow.
That would be
We
that
always
would be
have that piece we are biased about. So you have no piece out of all your pieces that you're biased about.
yeah. It's quite difficult choosing from. Okay, I think there is this piece I wrote last year that
Okay.
actually it sparked a whole lot of conversation. I wrote
Okay.
I it was on albinism
Okay.
basically. Yeah, and then how I give a different perspective of beauty with respect to the skin of an albino, and then
Okay.
it really gave people much to talk about. And then I think, yeah, I would say that was my best piece last year. That was my
Oh,
best poem last year.
awesome.
Yeah,
So we would also like to get a link to that. If you can put out all the links before we shut down, you can send me all the links. And
sure,
when I'm reposting what we learned from today's what we learned from today's interview, we can just add up all the links also to the YouTube video for whoever wants to watch it later. All
sure.
right, because we would try to share this to an external audience. Facebook page, Eben Ace. Eben Ace. That's his Facebook page. I'm also sure that's your Instagram name, Eben Ace.
No, my Instagram name is it
Eben
has
Ace.
poet attached it.
Aha. I know. Okay. Okay. So I did make a mistake. Instagram, Eben Ace Poet. Facebook, Eben Ace. All right, Eben, thank you so much for obliging us. Thank you for coming to share your side of the story. Thank you for
Yeah,
letting us know what has been your struggle. Thank you for having this piece of advice for Africans where they can be true, where they can tell their own side of the story. Thank you so much for being creative with your situations, including writer's block. You're
sure.
like one of the top 10 or 15 people I have met who tell me they don't think they have writer's block. And I don't know where the rest of us came from, but some of us have writer's block. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for you. And we are expectant of your poem and your puns. You said you're making a collection, an anthropology, and then an anthology rather. And you're
Yeah,
gonna add a section to it. So we are hoping and waiting it's going to come out soon and we would not lose appetite before it does come. And we're also
sure.
going to like a Facebook page and stay in tune with you. Thank you so much,
Okay.
everyone, for joining us. Thank you.